Hello, hello, hello. Today is January 13th, 2025. This is the Adroit Living session of the Erudition Network. Here, I like to talk about mental health and how to help improve your own mental health and to know when to seek help and, try to, get a little bit professional help. And see, all the professionals, all of us psychologists aren't so stuck up and snotty and rude and inconsiderate. Some of us are down to earth. So try to get some help if you need it. Um, Remember, there's plenty of people out here that can help and be helpful. Mental health is a serious situation, and mental health is physical wealth. So if you want to improve your physical wealth, improve your mental health. All right. So first, let me start off today. This is a live interactive show where I do talk to live people, live viewers, and you come on, you make a comment or ask a question, and we'll talk about it. Let's talk about it. It's live. Okay. So now that I've said that, feel free to comment. I want to also say I'm really sorry. The wildfires in California is devastating so many people. It's truly upsetting to see the fires ongoing the way they are. It's even more upsetting to see America set yet another president to inaugurate a felon into the highest occupation there is because it requires top secret security clearance. So it's always been a very protected position because you can't share top secret information with just anybody. So it is really upsetting to see us to lower the standard for that, as though we don't have, people who are not considered felons. And it seemed like they went out of their way to make sure that they emphasize the fact that he's a felon by giving them that label and then getting ready to inaugurate him. It's like, wow, y'all really went out your way. And that's upsetting. But it's just, it's just upsetting because of the level of security clearance, which is never given to people with such a criminal record, whether known or expunged, whether implied or convicted. So it seemed like like the atmosphere is set up to go out of the the way to disrupt people's mental health and well-being. For a long time, when we look at California, we've seen over the years that it's been setting the standard for acts in America. That's why it seems like really upsetting that we are seeing so many the nightly news and everybody's talking about these ongoing wildfires in California. And for a long time, we've seen how California set the acts this of standard of for how America is going about the things that they go about and expected behaviors. And it's just odd how Cali is on fire right now as this political era is actively sealing history, whether that history is positive or negative. Just be aware of what's happening. Hopefully, we're all praying God help us all, every one of us, not just some of us, but all of us. No one cares when where you're getting the water from when there's a fire. No one cares what you identify as when your help is needed. But no matter what, in every situation, dire or not, people are always looking or expecting qualified, knowing, or knowledgeable help so you don't perish. So you will not perish or endure unnecessary long suffering because you lack qualified assistance or qualified or knowledgeable assistance. So it's really all these things that's taking place is really impacting people's mental health. And that's why it is a good thing for us to do this show and talk about some things and talk about how mental health is affecting us, how these events, how these current events are affecting us mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, every aspect of it. How is it affecting you when you look and you see these actors and actresses that's long standing and had houses in those areas, and now they everything is perished. You see all these African Americans trying to evacuate, and they're getting accused of what do you call it, looting. And it's like, you didn't say that when you saw other people evacuating. I'm just saying. So how is that affecting your health? How is that affecting your mental well-being? It's like, you're so American. Why is it even in the time of detrimental sorrow and dire need, we are still stuck being so American and and dividing people's woes, people who have the same woes, but we're dividing. We're dividing and saying, well, that's not them evacuating, that's them looting, taking the opportunity to loot others. And it's like, what? So that's definitely affecting people's mental well-being, especially because it's trending over social media, which is the most effective way to get word of mouth out. But the topic of today's show is You're So American. Recently, in current events involving Americans and Elon Musk, more Americans are coming to understand currency and the fact that American currency is linked to global currency, which is also linked to Eastern currency and Western currency of diverse communities. So we're covering everybody. It's a global currency. That's what we're talking about. The strong or previously strong currency of America was made weaker by Americans who didn't understand when the joke was over. So they didn't notice when they unwittingly became the butt of the joke. Americans allowed the attempt to jar more Americans to the awareness via the movement of quote unquote woke. By once again twisting the narrative. Twisting the narrative is historically proven to it's a historically proven tactic to detour people from seeking knowledge, from gaining knowledge, and sharing facts leading to knowledge. So when people said woke, everybody was on board. Oh, I'm so aware. I didn't even know this was like that. I didn't know that was happening. Oh, this is news to me. I didn't know this was really still going on. This is something that hasn't taken place since the 60s and 50s and the 30s. I didn't know that this was still going on. So there was an awareness. It's not to say it never happened before. And that's annoying to me when people say, oh, that's never happened here. That's never happened in my neighborhood. Like, what? Please sit down. Anyway, that awareness was becoming too popular. So people decided to twist the narrative and say woke is something bad, is something we shouldn't indulge in and dwell on or teach anybody. And they started to twist the narrative. And that began to really disrupt Americans' mental well-being, because now that gaslighting is overwhelming, because it's like, wait a minute, you told me a moment ago that we were over that. You told me that we didn't act like that anymore. You told me that we're finally blending as an American. You said that Martin Luther King's dream of us all blending together and working together, going to school together, eating together, everything. You said that that's the way it is now after all these years. So when there's an awareness pointing out that no, that's not what's happening, and see, this is happening, and now be aware. Now you're woke because you're no longer under the under the illusion or delusion that this is not happening. It's like now you strip that away and say, no, we can't do that. Just like they're still continuing to say, well, we don't need diversity, inclusion, and programs that says we can have diversity and culture and people in the workforce and in schools and things of that nature. We don't have to set programs out to make sure that these people of diversity and diverse contribution. You can't get this. You can't get an advancement the way you want to advance if everybody thinks the same, if everybody's doing the same thing. But anyway, that's why it was really important for us to maintain that momentum of being aware of reality and showing how reality was not meeting expectation. Anyway, what would you do if I told you that you're smart and you were born smart, but via contrived formal education, you were conditioned not to exhibit your full intellect? You starting to understand that connection now of how people detour you and twist the narrative of things so that you won't advance in the awareness that you need to, so you can behave a little bit differently, so you can make people aware of where you stand and how you feel and what you believe and how you think and what you support. So in doing the gaslighting and further contouring your ability to be aware, it's curbing your intellect, and it's playing on your hierarchy of human needs to feel like you belong and feel welcome and feel like you can advance financially, mentally, in every aspect. And that gaslighting is really making mental health a crisis right now. But if I told you you were born smart, what would you do? I'm just saying, I've already tried to explain that you were born smart. So grab this book. It's Generational Wealth, Information Asymmetry, and Your Success. It's available on Amazon, Lulu.com, and ask for wherever books are sold. But I try to help people to understand you were born smart. Tap into it. What if there's history which supports the fact that infighting, American, U.S. versus Americans, is the reason for America's failing to achieve the intellectual acknowledgments? Now, you might not, infighting means Americans fighting Americans, and how that's all affecting your financial gains and that you can earn. What if I was to tell you that? What if I was to prove it to you and show you? What would you do then? Because of the ignorant, needlessly infighting, which has caused such a degrade in global currency that has led to a deep decline in global mental health as well. So a lot of people, they try to say that there's no correlation, there's no link. So they keep doing whatever they're doing because they don't want to associate or make that association so they can validate doing whatever they're doing. So how are these things related? You may also be one of the people that say, oh, there's no correlation, there's no connection in these events. You're conflating and bloviating. You're absurd, babbling buffoon. But think about it. By those gaslighting tactics, we sojourn further down the rabbit hole for the lack of knowledge or acceptance of knowledge. And that's how they do it. They make it seem as if it's absurd. They tell you and they gaslight you and they twist the narrative. But the Bible foretold, my people will perish for a lack of knowledge. The answer for that was the eventual the eventual expediting of the end times. That's what directly after that was foretold in the Bible. It was like, I'm going to have to speed up the end because we're going to lose too many souls. So to prevent poor souls from succumbing to these things because they lack knowledge, we're just going to end it early. But a lot of people are like trying to predict the end. I'm not trying to predict the end. I'm just saying that this is what was told. So to prevent the lack of accepting knowledge from leading people to lose their soul. And it's like, well, is there a connection? Is there really a connection that I don't understand or know something so I can lose my soul? Yeah, because you're going to make decisions that's going to lead you to a place that you can't come back from. And you think that you have time to turn around because that's what you have in your plan, your vision board. Well, I'll make the wrong decision right now, but given some time, I'll repent and I'll change my ways. Some may say there's no correlation any of that, and I often jump topics, but I'm not jumping topics. So please read my book and try to, jar yourself loose from contrived thinking, because that kind of contrived thinking is what's really making you involuntarily combat mental health and have a decline in mental health, because it's like, wait a minute, I know I'm not going crazy. I saw what I saw. I know I'm not going crazy. I heard what I heard. So, but even the Bible wasn't written in man-made orthodox order. So we're always looking for things to be in a particular order, because that was a part of the conditioning. That was a part of the contrived methodology. But try to get this book, Generational Wealth, Information Asymmetry, and Your Success. Is written differently. I'm just saying, why was those things done? For example, why was the Bible written in the way that it was, which is not necessarily chronological order? It was written that way to emphasize important points and facts derived for clarity via sharing lived experiences, which foretells information so you don't have to follow the wrong things just to learn. However, there's the phrase that always aids people to accept this behavior called, oh, well, some people got to learn the hard way. It's like, do you really? Do you really have to learn the hard way? Hey, Jackie, thank you for joining me. A lot of times people want to avoid learning the hard way. And it's like, when you are unable to reach that person, you give up and you say, well, some people got to learn the hard way. No, why don't you try to get somebody else to tell them? That's why when I saw a lot of people taking the messages that I present and they're using it on their platform or using it in the way to convey the message to their audience, I don't complain, because you may be able to reach those people that I can't reach. For example, some people, they think, oh, well, you lying. You get mad, because I know I'd get mad if somebody took what I said and tried to act like it was their own. And I'm like, well, look, we don't really have time for that. Mental health is a major problem. And if I can't reach them because I don't know where they at, or they not tuning into my show, or whatever the case may be, but you have an audience, you have a platform, you have a voice, and people are listening, tell them, because you don't know where you're going to be when that message reached whoever it needed to reach when you were in their vicinity. I'm just saying. So no, I'm not lying when I say I'm happy that the word got out, regardless of who said it. Just don't contort it. Don't change it. Don't add to it or take from it because you feel like you got to make it yours. Don't do that. That won't be okay. Because there's a lot of mechanics to justifying, accepting, knowingly choosing to do wayward things or learn the hard way. A lot of times we give so many excuses of why, oh yeah, that's the hard way, and you had to bump your head, um you had to get scars to learn the lesson, you had to be traumatized to learn the lesson. That's not true. That's not true, and that's not why the Bible was written. The Bible was written to avoid those things. Thank you, Jackie. I'm just saying, you got to get it out there. You can't hold it in, and don't be mad because somebody had to take your message and carry it onward. Don't be mad. I don't care if it's 0 viewers. I don't care if I'm writing in Facebook and somebody say, well, can I take that message and post it and share it on my wall? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Why? Because the message got to get out because somebody need it. You oftentimes hear these preachers going on saying somebody need to hear that. I don't know who need to hear it, but this is a prophetic word. Look, that's not the way that works. But okay, I get it. Your message need to get out because somebody need to hear the message. I wouldn't classify it as a prophecy though. I'm just saying words have meaning. But anyway, we know that some people have to learn things the hard way because we can't reach them and we don't know anybody else to tell them to talk to them or go seek this person and so forth and so forth, so on. For example, you ever have a loved one and you trying to get them to understand, look, smoking, I smoke. Please don't smoke. I know you're not going to listen to me tell you not to smoke. I know you're not going to listen to me to tell you don't have premarital sex unless you are certain that this is the person that you don't mind dealing with for the rest of your life, even if you're never going to marry this person. I know I can't tell you that because I did it or I'm doing it or I struggle with it. So I know you're not going to listen to me tell you that you shouldn't do these things because you're looking at me and saying I'm a hypocrite. How can I tell you what not to do when I'm doing it? Get somebody else to talk to that person. Get somebody to help that person. Don't stop at you can't reach them, so they got to learn the hard way. We have to stop looking at the person. Yes, a lot of times we looking at the messenger, and the messenger is not the focus. The message is. So yeah, I'm a little, goofy, crazy. I play too much and all that sort of thing. Don't look at that. Listen to the message. Get the message. Share the message. But anyway, we why do we care? Why should we care now instead of just thinking my soul has a long wait before it will endure just rewards? So I'll do me for now. When I get old, I'll hurry to better up myself before I die. A lot of people, I've heard so many people say that over the years, and I feel so bad for them because yes, I hear so many people say that, and they're like, I have time. I have time. I don't know if you've been watching, but amid a pandemic, all these natural disasters, a blatant inability to predict when you're going to die will be because some random fed up person may end you without you seeing the end coming. You may want to just do the right thing now. I'm just saying, how many more reasons do you need to do the right thing? A lot of people they didn't see those fires coming. Even though it was in their vicinity, they still stayed there. They didn't evacuate. And some people died. Do you think that if they saw it coming, they wouldn't have evacuated and got the heck out of there before they succumbed to the fire and natural disasters? We don't see it. So you got to stop saying I got time. We didn't see Luigi losing it and snapping and taking that man out, that CEO who was probably living his best life. He didn't see it coming. He shot him in the back. He was gone before he ever knew what hit him. Stop thinking you have time to do the right thing and do the right thing now, because your mental health is urging you for a reason. The time is winding up, and it's like we heard that before. I heard that before, and we still hear generations later. Are you watching everything that's happening, which is beyond man's control? It's beyond their ability to predict the outcome. It's beyond their ability to put it in a box and put statistics and labels on it. Stop thinking that you have time. No man knows the day nor the hour when their end will come. So please stop with the attempts to disassociate positive correlations to logic or obedience, because total disruption of people's mental health that to that extent is causing people to lose their soul before they can implement their plans, which they were saving for their old age. Like, oh, I got time. And then they seeing their friend who's the same age as them, they're gone unsuspectedly without ever thinking or imagining, no plan in action. They're gone. And that's hard for anybody to accept and embrace. And it takes time to get over the fact that they're gone. What's the way of living now without that person? What's the way of living now that you realize that it's unpredictable? That's right, Jackie. Nobody knows what day or what hour. They don't know if you're going to be able to make it over the challenges of the day, let alone more time than that. Please note, I just said tomorrow is not promised, so get ready today. I'm not saying, make your peace and sell all your belongings and things like that. I'm saying it's a way to behave, and that is the way you should behave today. Don't plan for it to be tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll apologize. I know I was wrong. I said some things I shouldn't have said because I was in my feelings. I was emotional. They had it coming. So let them dwell on that for a little bit while I relieve myself of the burden of giving a crap. Sometimes we feel like, oh, I'm such a good person, and good people, they always come in last place. I'm tired of being taken for granted. I'm tired of hurting. It's messing up my mental well-being and nobody cares. Mental health is real. Yes, I know. And it's like we're not considering the effects that those lost lives are having on those who are still alive. It's caused a lot of people to think I may not have the time again. Even though I'm tired of being nice, I'm tired of being taken advantage of, let me go ahead and say I'm sorry. Even though you don't deserve for me to apologize, even though you don't deserve, but my peace, my mental health, my well-being is more important than what is going on with you and how I feel you deserve exactly what you got coming to you. Now that it's been said, for clarity of understanding the importance of current events between Americans and Elon Musk, and it's like, how is that relative to that? Because all that gaslighting, and they're like, oh well, Elon is over here and he's helping Americans do this, that, and the third. And it's like, wait a minute, that's messing with people's mental health, because it's like, that's not exactly true. How is that helpful when it seems to be harming us more than helping us? We have these fires that's going on. We have this mental health that's going on. And it's like, you could be contributing to helping us with that. But you on the stage dancing with Trump, jumping all around instead. Yes, give the flowers now. If you really were going to help and be helpful, then you would do things that contribute to positive mental health and well-being and living, instead of, just jumping around. And everybody's like, there was some TikToks that were saying some things that was making people aware that the American leaders are becoming more aware that Elon's help is not as helpful as they were hoping for it to be, or they were trying to make it seem as though it was. And they're saying some really mean things about him, and they're emphasizing where he comes from, and it's leading to a lot of people thinking about some things that they should have probably thought about a long time ago. But as we are seeing American leaders seemingly being really cross with Elon's involvement with American diplomacy, we have more of awareness, and they're like, uh-oh. Have you ever read about a person in history and wish you could have been in the midst and taken a picture with the icons or the main characters. You're like, man, just fantasizing about that. Some people, and you've seen people Photoshop themselves into a picture, and they just, they just playing. They just wish they were there in the moment to do whatever, and they were in the midst. Right now, in current events, that's what we're seeing. All the money in the world can't buy you a photo like that. But wait a minute, it did. Do you recall everyone talking about Elon's behavior at Trump's rally, where he was jumping around and all that sort of thing? There's your photo. No need for Photoshop. It's widely understood that Americans kind of follow what they're told to follow. And it's derived from brick and mortar schools, which they say is traditional schooling. But if you get my book and you try to read it, you will find that it's not the traditional form of schooling. What you say, Jackie? Yes, I wanted to. I know, right? That would have been really cool. I heard my uncle talk about these different people and Martin Luther King Jr. and he took pictures with him, and because he was in the midst of it. And it's like, man, that sounds really cool. That would have been really cool if I'd have been able to do that. But right now we have a historical event going on with this presidency with Trump and everything. And Elon is like, oh man, I saw what happened the previous 4 years that he was president. I gotta be there this time. I gotta push this and make this happen so I could be up there. I could be a part of it. And it's like, I don't know if y'all see what's happening, but it's widely understood that brick and mortar schooling was not created to unify learning. And if you get my book, Generational Wealth, Information Asymmetry and Your Success, I can bring you up to speed a bit better with that. But Black History Month emphasizes the awareness of the intentionally lopsided, contrived educational system, but the thoughts or the broadcast of such awareness is stifled, except for when Elon was saying what he was saying. I'm not going to repeat any of that here, but go and look for it yourself. Why did I say I'm not going to repeat it here? Because when people find the information for themselves, they're more likely to believe it and come to their own understanding. And that's why the Bible says study to show yourself approved. Because, yeah, it's like when you learn it for yourself, can't nobody shake you. Can't nobody tell you different. Nobody gonna gaslight you because you know what you know. So go look at what he said, especially about the education system. And it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna move on. But anyway, they stifled they stifled the awareness of this, except for during Black History Month, because it's widely unpopular to notice that. But because it's justified to be done to one, and think about it. What was it doing? How was it impacting people? Who was excluded and how were they excluded? And what was going on and what was being done? I'm just saying, it's not Black History Month just yet. So we'll get into it a little bit more later, but read the book. It's a small book, but it's really a lot of information. But anyway, when you justify injustices being done to one, you've unwittingly justified it being done to more and more for more reasons than the first, which was skin color or location or then demographics, then a family and inheritance. You can inherit good and bad culture behavior. I'm just saying, somewhere along the lines though, it began to apply to all Americans, all but the anomalies. And it's like, how do we recognize the anomalies? You got to read my book to understand anomalies a little bit better. But the anomalies are unknown for their formal, they're known for their formal logic and building their formal logic. They blend in. They're not standing out all the time. It's more logical to blend in because there's no need to stand out. When you live in a way which tirelessly exhibits your intellectual ability, it seemingly signals others unwarranted animosity. Even if you're in school or a learning environment like the job, like on the job training, it signals to those people unwarranted animosity, and they start to act out. They start to be mean to you for no reason, for what you can count. That was a mouthful to digest, so I'm just saying it a little bit more so that you can understand what I'm saying, because a lot of people in this time, they're acknowledging that there's a lot of unwarranted animosity going on, and it's like, what do we do about that? What's going on? I don't understand. We're in school. Shouldn't I show you that I'm capable of understanding the information that you're trying to teach me so I can earn the degree? You must not have been watching Black history and all the things they were doing with those history books. And I'm just saying, you might not have been paying attention. Have you ever felt people were hating on you for being good at your job, or knowing the answer to lessons because you actually read the material, or hating because things seem not to bother you, but that same thing bothers almost everybody, but it doesn't bother you? You ever seen that? Seemingly unwarranted animosity, um, but by their standards, the people who have the animosity, their standards is saying, well, it's warranted because you need to be humbled. They trying to bring you down, because they believe that you need humbling. They don't see your humanity, your struggles that make it okay for you to excel in something. They don't see that. Even if that's the only one thing that you're actually good at. They don't see that. They don't care. They just have this idea that you need humbling. I don't like the fact that you're feeling good about yourself. That unwarranted animosity seems warranted to them because they feel like you need it. Simple as that. You may not be trying to stand out or be an anomaly. It just happens. It's innate in us all, even if you can't tap into it for all of your hating or distractions of the like. A lot of times people, they say, well, if it's in everybody, then why can't everybody tap into it when they want to? There's your answer. Because you're distracted. You're distracted with unwarranted animosity and justifying wrongs. I'm just saying. It's that same illogical animosity which justified the spread of oppression of one to all, being applicable to all. So you justified doing that to one person, but you didn't understand how you were making it so that now it applies to you too. It's every American not to, it's very American not to understand that. So no worries, that you don't understand that. Let me keep trying to explain. It's like a rabbit hole that's really a black hole, which sucks everything in its vicinity into the black hole. Still no? Okay. Evil communication corrupts totally, leaving nothing untouched. You ever bite into a fruit to see it was spoiled, it was rotten? The whole thing was rotten. One spot was more obvious though. You get it now? So it's widely understood brick and mortar schools were not designed to unify education. Black History Month shows the errors of that broken system, which Elon just so happened to be emphasizing most recently. I'm just saying, go look at it. Black History Month shows the errors of that broken system, which has now become more obviously synonymous for preying on the unsuspected. Yeah, that's what it was. The fatalism of it is at times more quickly occurring in some cases. But that's the eventuality. And it's like a running gag that goes on over the heads of most until that one time they finally get it, but it's been beat to death, but you finally just getting the gist. So a lot of times people feel like, well, it's the eventuality that you be unwittingly victimized, but you don't see it coming before now. But nowadays we're seeing it. We're seeing, well, if I sit here and there, just okay, back in the day, we used to be in brick and mortar school, and they said, well, if a tornado or, inclement weather comes, just get under your desk and hold your head in the ball and just hold yourself in the ball, and that'll protect you. It's like, no, that's not going to do it. And it's like, but you told me, and I'm supposed to trust you because you're an authority figure, and you're supposed to teach me things I don't know, and not to take advantage of me and tell me lies and gaslight me into false sense of security and give me degrees and tell me I'm smart and I'm qualified, and really I'm just regurgitating information that you revived and contrived to lies, and now I'm reciting those things as though they're truths and facts, and people overseas are looking at me like, I don't care what degree you have, you're not educated, because those things you saying are not facts. There's that. Current events is a lot like that. Beating the message to death because everyone didn't get it. It's a lot of people were saying, well, after electing Trump the first time, a lot of people understood we need someone more qualified for the position because they felt like the pandemic occurred, and it was because we cut some corners because the person who had the presidency at the time didn't understand how those people that he cut and let loose were well qualified to prevent and address the pandemic or prevent it from happening altogether. I don't know. But this time around, it's like, what, you didn't understand that we need more qualified people in these types of roles. But now people are getting fed up and showing it more boldly. They're so mad at Elon Musk right now that they're trying so hard to find a way to cancel him out without including a certain demographic, which they've worked so hard to put on a pedestal. I don't know if you know that, but if you're looking at it, I'm just saying, some people I'm not informing, I'm just confirming. I'm just saying, it's a big problem right now. And it's contributing to a great deal of people being fed up and breaking their mental health where it was already teetering. I'm just saying, it's caused the repeated statements of facts regarding brick and mortar schooling that were previously tried to be hidden. And they said, well, we're not going to teach that. We're not going to teach how Fred Shuttlesworth, my uncle Fred Shuttlesworth, went out and called Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and some other people out to the South to help to get schooling to be unified for learning. Imagine that. So everybody has the same level of education. Imagine that. So everybody is learning. I'm just saying, some people in schools didn't know school's intent. So when they joined the schooling culture, they saw the answers to be problems which burdened productivity. So they created a resolution which addressed it. But they were shunned. They don't know why they were shunned either. But that's what's knowing contrived to be broken is not productive to create a curriculum which fixes it. Do you understand? It was created to be broken. And you come in there with your wise ideas of how to fix it, and you get shunned. And you don't know why you're being shunned. You go to work and you say, a lot of the people aren't motivated to be here. A lot of people, we have these teams at work, and the people aren't really motivated to do the job. We all have a unified goal or an organizational goal to accomplish, and nobody's really doing that. Did you think, just for one moment, out of all your trying and being shunned, that you had the answer and they're not implementing the answer? Did it ever occur to you that maybe it's because no one really wanted to fix it? Moving on. I don't know if you understand, but think about it. Just let it sink in. Maybe watch it a couple of times. If marriage is seen as broken and high divorce rates, which outweigh marriages that last, the fix is something other than marriage, right? Not more marriages, right? No. More defined marriages fixes the problems. Learning and school are seemingly married. You think that, okay, if you're in school, you're supposed to be learning. That's just like a marriage. It's coupled together, it's paired together, it goes together. You're in school and you're learning. Okay. But it's really not the way you'd imagine it. And it's like when you get there, it's messing with your mental health, because you're like, wait a minute, this this I'm supposed to be learning. It just goes together. It's married. It's being American and diplomatic seems to be married, but it's not the way you'd expect it. Americans and people who migrate to America, they do it because they're like, well, there's a diplomacy, and that's married to Americans. So I want to be American. What'd you say? It is going to make this training to follow, not lead. Yeah, that's one of the things that you're conditioned to follow, not lead. And then there's some people who they do take a side and they do try to train them as a successor and things of that nature. But it just doesn't pan out. I followed you and followed someone else. The Pied Piper took the kids at the end of the story, but yeah. The funny thing about the Pied Piper story is that the tune was heard by all, but it only affected those it was aimed to affect for the purpose that it was intended to affect. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Folks like to watch this way. Yeah, yeah, until it doesn't pan out the way they were hoping. But anyway, I appreciate those comments, Eddie. Keep them coming. You've heard the um the phrase, "they will not replace us." You heard those chants. The problem is the way you're contriving the very acts you say you don't want. You are killing yourselves by your own hands because you justified the broken system you developed to stifle one, not understanding how you were included. So back in Black History Month, we'll see a lot of people talk about, they might or might not, because they burn so many books, you might not have the understanding or the ability to reference any sources to say this is how it was back in the 60s, back in the 30s, back in the 40s, But anyway, you've seen how people contrived particular systems to cater to a particular group or a group of people for various reasons. And it's like they're sending out a signal and signaling certain people, and all the people can hear the signal, they can hear the sound, they seeing it, but it's only geared at one, and it's not understood that, do they know I can hear them? Do you know I can see you? You ever heard that? You hearing that more and more now. Like, what did you know that you're being seen by more than just the person you talking to, just the person you're trying to impact, the person you're trying to reach? It's like, my goodness. But now the chants which boldly protest, um, they're combating the whole "you will not replace us," because like, who you talking to? Nobody's trying to replace you. What are you talking about? You didn't know that somebody sent a signal to those people who are chanting that, and gave them that fear, instilled that fear into them, and now they're acting on that. You didn't know that though, because you don't see it the way they see it. You don't hear it the way they hear it. You don't take it as seriously as they take it. You may hear it and be like, nah, nobody's doing that. No one's really doing that. And then you start to get woke because you're aware that, yeah, people are really doing that. That's really happening. And what are you going to do about it? Now it's like, oh, let's twist the narrative and turn it so that you don't understand. And you again go back to regular stupid, as the TikTok said. Let's go back to regular stupid. I can't wait till this is over so we can get back to regular stupid. It's like, really? Nobody's doing that. Nobody. And then it happens. It's a reality, and you're like, man, I'm stuck with this reality. This is super sucks. But anyway, um, you see all this infighting in America, where people are instilling fear into people the way they did in the 50s, in the 60s. And you're seeing how this is playing out in modern time. These are not the modern, these modern people. They're not the people of the past. It's a different generation, and you're entered into the fed up generation. I'm just saying it's not gonna play out the way you might thought. And it's widely understood that the culture is a state of mind, not a skin color, or a social status, or a location of where you live. If you redline and you can only live in particular areas, it's not about that. It's not. It's widely understood culture is a state of mind noted by behaviors, not a skin color which no one can control. So you can't depend on that skin color being the signal for that particular culture that you're thinking, even though there's stigmas and stereotypes that's associated with it. And it's like, wait a minute, that didn't happen. Why didn't it happen? Why? Now you see, now you understand why your mental health is in jeopardy, because you're like, I thought that this was supposed to go down like this, but it didn't happen that way. It didn't. The reality didn't meet the expectation. Yet they'll watch both of you perish for unspoken and unknown reasons, because they're like, oh, but you could be deceived because you looking at my skin color, you looking at my demographics, you looking at my financial status, you looking at the wrong thing. So you distracted and you think that I care. No, I don't care. We just gonna both perish. And it's like, wow, that's how you feel? Yeah. Bold animosity, illogical animosity, the to the logical thinking is unwarranted animosity. But I showed you how they came to believe it's in fact warranted using their methods of measurement and judgment. People who are not of sound mind, they don't think the same way as someone who's teetering on having a sound mind and flipping out. They don't think the same way as people who are strong in their mental health. They're not thinking the same as anybody else. Everything is chaotic and there is no logic in it. That's why a lot of psychologists don't don't encourage people to keep going down that rabbit hole. They encourage them to get help, seek help, get stronger mentally, get stronger. I'm just saying. Meanwhile, you need to understand how the tides turn and who's the one on the chopping block, how and why. Because you're laughing because and you see them laugh. You laugh because they laughing, but they not laughing at what you think they laugh. They're laughing at you, not with you. I'm just saying, how do I know? How can you know? It's that call and response. Track it. When you go around and you say things like, there's been devastation in your neighborhood, and you're like, man, this never happens here. Whatever that devastation was, man, this never happens here. Whether it was somebody started eating the dogs and cats in your neighborhood, whether it was, child trafficking, human trafficking of any sort, whether it was somebody trip and fell, whatever it was, some sort of devastation. And you're like, oh, that never happens here. That's that call. And the response is, oh, you're not aware. I don't care if you call it woke. I don't care what you call it. You are unaware that, yes, this does happen in your neighborhood just like this. And it's even worse than what you might have witnessed or most recently heard in your modern time. It's not a such thing as, oh, it doesn't happen here. Yes, it happens here. And when they twist the narrative and they stifle the facts, it's that call and response that they need to be aware that you are unknowledgeable. You are unaware. You are unwilling to learn and grow and understand and advance beyond this ignorant place that we're in. And they say, well, maybe America isn't where we want to be. You see a lot of people saying that now. You see a lot of people trying to bail. A lot of people jumping ship. A lot of people are like, man, maybe I need to reconsider some things and leave America. Maybe it's better somewhere else. A lot of people are thinking that because they're coming to be more aware that the broken system that we are forced to follow and perpetuate is not the system that gets us advanced. It doesn't get us advancement like we wanted. And instead, it's degrading our mental health and causing unpredictable things to happen, which we cannot control. It's beyond man's control because we can't predict how this person's mental health break is going to impact someone else that's in their vicinity. Remember, I told you, it's like a black hole. It's not a rabbit hole. It's like a black hole. And a black hole, what it does is it sucks everything in its vicinity into it and leaves nothing untouched. So when we think that we're doing something and it's only to a select few, we have just sent the signal informing our ignorance to the fact that it involves you too. There was a saying back in the old West. They said when you dig a hole or dig a grave, make sure for all the people that you're gonna go out there and get, make sure you dig an extra one for yourself. It was that kind of awareness that let people understand that even if you achieve your goal to go out there or you endeavor to go and get people, you might want to understand how that affects you too, because you going out there and getting people, but you're not leaving unscathed. You may not even survive leaving that area. It's like in the old West, they were out of these shootouts and all they're not talking about the ricocheting of bullets and bystanders that's getting hit and dying, and they're not talking about, but they glamorize it. They glamorize it to make it seem like it wasn't like a black hole that sucked everybody into it unwittingly, unknowingly. They didn't want to go, but it sucked them in. And we're repeating that and repeating that and repeating that all through history. And people like Elon Musk are looking at it and saying, I know what happens next. I got to be in this picture. I got to take a photo. I got to get over here so I can say I was there. And then I'm going to bail out before it all hit the fan. But y'all not going to be aware of that because Americans, y'all just follow blindly and you don't really know. And even though these same authority figures have shown you exactly everything you need to know and understand about followership, you still follow. You so American. You're so American. But it's not like that. It's a lot of anomalies in America. For example, um there's my Uncle Fred Shuttlesworth. There's Martin Luther King Jr. There's a whole Black History Month where we're going to find out a lot about more anomalies in America. And it's not just all Black people, it is some white people too. Um, I can't think of a lot of names because I suck at names, especially when it's not personally connected to me. So I'm just like everybody else. Um, when it really personally impacts me, that I can remember because I love my Uncle Fred, and he'd always talk about all these people, but the only one name I can really remember is Martin Luther King Jr. because we have a whole um, holiday named after him. But if they had a whole holiday named after some of the people who were in that um, effort, who endeavored to do the same things, we would have more unity. We'd have people actually acknowledging that, yeah, that was bad. We don't need to go back there under any circumstances, under any kind of form. We don't need to go back there. But here we are, 2025, and it's a prospectus that of leadership in the political leadership of America that dares to endeavor to take us back there. Some things they didn't consider, some things about Civil War that they didn't consider. The fact that people who look like you and your neighbors who talk the same way as you didn't agree with you, and some people who didn't wasn't projected to fall and succumb, they fell, and they weren't Black. They were white. It was a lot of white people who thought, oh, well, we're going to do this and then we're going to take advantage of them. We're going to keep them enslaved and we're not going to let them vote and we're going to keep them oppressed and suppressed. And the other white people, their neighbors and friends and their family that they were talking to, they was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then when it came down to it, they was like, no, I just said that because I love you and I didn't want to oppose you at the moment, but I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you and I can't go down that path. This isn't right. I can't take this. I'm not doing it. We didn't learn that happened, and we pushed that under the rug that happened. So now when we are seeing the political events dare to go back there and we see somebody from overseas try to take advantage of it and be there in the midst and take pictures and say, oh, I was there. But when it happened and I encouraged it, I helped it happen, and they're trying, it's not going to play out the way you think it's going to play out. And a lot of times we're seeing in modern events that it's not playing out like that. These people are not going to lay down and be victimized. These people are not going to be unarmed. These people are not going to placate to you as though they're unaware. They're not going to acquiesce to you and say, yeah, yeah, I go along with you all up until the last moment, where then you realize, like Caesar, you're being attacked by everybody that you thought was on your side and motivating you to do these wayward things. That's not going to play out like that. It's happening more in a fast motion, fast forward, because we've been there, we've done that. We know how it's going to end. We know the outcome, but we act like we don't see it coming. There's a lot of ways to see. Yes, it's a lot of white people who are the ones who hated the advancement of America having the equality and diversity inclusion that you see now being threatened to be removed. It wasn't Black people, it wasn't people of color, it was everybody. It was whites, Blacks, and people of color. It was people who were street smart and people who were book smart. Then you get those street smart people to go to school and get book smart. Now you got a whole different, you have an anomaly that you just didn't predict. I'm just saying, I came from these streets. I went to school and got my degree. And I'm just saying, it looked different. It looked different. I'm trying to help you understand. It's not gonna look the way it did 60 years ago. It's not gonna look the same way as it did in the 30s, 50s, and further back. It's not gonna look the same. I'm just saying. But I said it because I want you to have better mental health, improve your mental health. Turn around, be good for goodness sake. Do the right thing. I'm just saying, you don't have the time you think you do. But remember, mental health is physical wealth.
Mental health is physical wealth.